So when volunteers reach this point, again, same problem. Safety here, but the minute they stepped out, they were going to be mowed down, so they break into this house. This is the next most important building. This is where the first council of war is held. So Connolly's.
So they have to get sledgehammers.
There are different accounts. One account is they broke through this wall here, and other accounts have them breaking in at the rear. Accounts differ because it took 30 years before accounts were written, other than Elizabeth O'Farrell's account, the nurse. Hers was written a year after the event. Most accounts weren't written until 20 or 30 years later, so there are different memories naturally. This corner.
They broke in here anyway.
This became the first house that broke into. Yeah. Now, because of the numbers, they immediately commenced bashing through to extend the position through the houses.
At different levels, depending
on how easy it was to get through.
There's a full brick wall. There's a full brick wall supporting the wall.
Yeah. Now there was a makeshift. There was a makeshift barrier here, and that evening they decided the leadership stayed here that first evening. There was a barrier here, and George Plunkett was on guard duty here at this barricade. George was a brother of Joe Plunkett, Joseph Mary Plunkett, George, Joseph Mary, and Jack Plunkett, three brothers. There were amazing number of brothers in the rising. The Ring brothers were most famous. There were 5 brothers. The Plunketts, Lemass, Noel and Sean Lemass.
Sure, yeah. McDonough's.
But that night, George Plunkett was here at this barricade on duty, and himself and another volunteer heard moaning from across the way in Sampson's Lane. I don't know whether you remember that originally, that lane, which goes to what you were talking about, just the geography of the streets. We've lost that laneway because of Duns. That you used to be able to walk through there. Yeah. Anyway, they heard moaning from across the street and assumed it was a volunteer that had been wounded. So George Plunkett gingerly steps over the barricade, crosses the street under fire, and puts who he believes to be a volunteer over his shoulder, and comes back under fire and puts him over the barricade, and they discover of course the British soldier. So Plunkett decides he'll go back and get his rifle. So he steps back over the barricade, under fire again, collects the rifle and comes back again. And that's the British soldier who eventually ends up in 16 with the leadership, wounded British soldier. So this house here is known at the time as Cogan's. The leadership spent the first evening here. McLaughlin asked the Pearses to go upstairs, and they slept upstairs on a large table. And McLaughlin went up and slept underneath the table in the first evening. And when they woke, the other volunteers had, we call it tunnel, but burrowed their way up at different levels up through the houses, with the aim of reaching the security and safety of the middle of the terrace rather than the either end. Now this,
and had all 150 or 200 gone in after.
Gradually the entire terrace was occupied by, 2 to 300.
So they'd have been all along the terrace?
All along the terrace. And just to go, you see these 2 houses here, they're the actual original houses here, these 2 here. And the ironic thing about this development that's proposed is that in 16 that entire terrace was blitzed up to here. And under the present proposal, we're keeping that terrace, but we're not keeping what was here.
Survived.
That survived. Right. But they're very important houses. They're 1700 houses in Glasgow, the actual original houses. So, Cogan's, we're in Cogan's, the leadership. The next morning, they moved for safety reasons up to the centre of the terrace. The volunteers having tunnelled their way up or burrowed their way up in the meantime. So the next important set of buildings are what's referred to as the National Monument, but don't look like a National Monument, 14 to 17.
That's how we keep our national monuments.
That we talked about yesterday, yes.
Yeah, I know.
Now these have been a National Monument 2007, astonishing enough, so it's it's put it mildly, it's surprising that for that length of time.
Over the door here.
Well, it's not the Joseph, I mean, a great connection, but that's the Plunkett family, yeah.
They are relatives.
No, not really related.
They are ancestral relationship.
Long time, yeah, maybe. Well, we know Brendan Plunkett's on our committee. He's related to the family who ran the business. Now Plunkett's were comparatively new on the street. The longest serving business on the street was Hanlon's, which is 2021, that 321 store. But we'd stay with this for the moment. So we 14, 15, 16, 17 are the national monument. 14, 15, 16, 17, yeah. Importance of 15 is where Nurse O'Farrell emerged under a white flag. Came out of that house there. 16 is where the back room of number 16 and the first floor is where the decision was taken to surrender. So 5 of the signatories ended up in that back room with Willie Pearce. And of course all were executed subsequently. So they spent their last hours of freedom in that very house. The plaque was broken 66, there was 66 plaques. That just says here the
Right, so if you go into the shops upstairs, is there a floor there? Or is it
there's a back return.
Yeah.
These are, generally speaking, open spaces because they were used as shops. Then you go up steps into the living quarters upstairs. 16, 17 is important because it's from that doorway James Connolly was taken down the stairs. He was moved on a blanket between houses because they had to go upstairs, downstairs as they come through. So he was taken out of that doorway there and placed at the other room in front of Hanlon's, which is the next important building, Hanlon's. So under the plan, as we referred to yesterday, these 4 buildings, well, they have to be kept intact because they're part of the national monument. But under the plan, effectively they'll be gutted.
But this is the original front wall.
They're the original buildings. They date back to, the original street dates back to 1700. They were refaced subsequently. Now originally these were houses that served the needs of the great houses in O'Connell Street, of which there's only one left. And they're directly connected because they served, they were professional people who served the needs of the great houses in O'Connell Street. And it was subsequent to that it became a business street. So originally they were